This is what your paper looks like. I need to erase some things from here really quick. That's not the answer. That one was a mistake. What? I'm recording a video. Uh-oh, that's not what I meant to do. All right, here we go. We're starting with number 1, which is honestly a little bit different than what we watched on the video. So I'm going to help you through number 1. If you did the T-chart for number 1 like he did on the video, you would be getting 0, 0, and 0, 0. And that's only 1 point. You need 2 points to make a line. If that happens and you do the T-chart and you get 0, 0 both times, you need to solve this like it is slope-intercept form. So what we're going to do on the first one is we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. So now we have y equals negative 4x, and we still have a 0 on this side. So it'd be like plus 0. This is a good example to do first because this reminds us of what we did yesterday. This is graphing in slope-intercept form. My slope in this case is negative 4. How do I make negative 4 a fraction? And what's my y-intercept? 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 0 and we're going to make a point. Everybody make their first point at 0. From there, your slope tells you what direction and where to go. If the top number is negative, that means you're going down 4 in this case. The bottom number is positive, which means you would be going to the right 1. This is exactly like what we talked about yesterday. So from this point, I'm going to keep my pin on that point I already made. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 1. And now I've got my second point. I'm going to try my best to make a line right now that goes through those points, but you know, when I've got a pin, so it's not going to be perfectly straight. Connect your 2 points and you're good to go. That's a quick review of what we learned yesterday. All right, now we are going to go in and do one like they learned today. So this is a T-chart one on number 2. Make a T-chart. X goes on the left, Y goes on the right. And when I'm writing this down, you should be writing this down as well. Okay, you make a T-chart. The way you know you need to make a T-chart is if you have an X and a Y in your equation, that means it's in standard form. The only way you know that you need to do it the other way is when it equals 0 at the end. If it equals 0, then you need to change it. But this one does not equal 0. It equals negative 15. So I'm going to make my X 0, and then down here I'm going to make my Y 0. When I make X 0, it's telling me essentially I need to plug in a 0 right where X is. That means 10 times 0, which is what? 0. So that essentially tells me that 10x goes away, and now I'm left with negative 3y equals negative 15. So I just need to solve that one-step equation. Divide by negative 3. Keep in mind, when you have a negative divided by a negative, it's a what? Positive. So what's 15 divided by 3? 5. We're actually going to go ahead and graph that point. You always start by putting your pencil at 0, 0. And then if it tells you your X is 0, that means you don't go over anything. But your Y is 5, you have to go up 5. Now, obviously, you need 2 points to make a line. I can't just make a line through that 1 point. You have to have 2 points. So now we need to focus on the other one. Oops. 1 second. I need to erase my work because we have to now do a different point. Okay. So now I am going to plug in a 0 where Y is right here. which makes this part go away. So now I'm left with 10x equals negative 15. I divide by 10 to get my answer. So what is negative 15 divided by 10? Negative 1.5. It is okay to get a decimal, you guys. So what I'm going to do is put my point at 0, 0. It's telling me I need to go over negative 1.5 and up nothing. So that's right in between negative 1 and negative 2. Now I've got 2 points, and now that you've got 2 points, you're allowed to draw your line through them. So go ahead, draw your line. You've got a ruler. It should look nice and neat. Mine is obviously not because I'm just drawing random lines with my pen, but yeah, it's because of COVID. We've never had to sit that close to the curtain before, and so we've never had issues before. All right, now we're looking at number 3. So let's everybody look at 3. We're going to make a T-chart because we have X and Y on the same side of the equal sign and that it does not equal 0. So we're going to make our T-chart like we just did on the last one. This one's actually pretty easy. You don't even really have to solve much. When you make your X 0, X disappears, and all that's left is Y equals negative 3. There's nothing to solve there. It just tells you what Y equals. So when X is 0, Y equals negative 3. We're going to go ahead and graph that point. You put your pencil at 0, 0, and you're going to go down 3 and make a point. Now it's saying, okay, we're going to put a 0 in for Y, but this time, if you put a 0 in for Y, it just tells you that X equals negative 3. So when you graph this point, you're going to put your pencil back at 0, 0. And this time you need to go on the x-axis, negative 3, and you don't have to go up or down anything. That's the x-intercept. This one's the y-intercept. Draw your line, and you're done. Boys, can we stop? That'd be great. Okay, number 4 is a little different. We actually talked about this yesterday as well. If you only have one letter in the equation, it's not standard form, it's not slope-intercept form. We graph these with T-charts, okay? So it tells us x equals 5. The only number I'm allowed to put under x is a 5, and you can put as many as you want. You have to have 2 because you have to have 2 points to make a line. What am I allowed to put under y? Anything you want, okay? Obviously, our graph is only going up to 6 and down to 6, so anything bigger than 6 is not going to fit. So I'm just going to choose something that I know will fit, 1 and 2. They're small. I know they'll be on the graph. And now we're going to graph these points. The first point I need to graph is 5, 1. So I start my pencil at 0, 0. It says x is 5, so I go on my x-axis to 5, and then it says y is 1, so I go up 1. I put my pencil back at 0, 0. You start fresh every point that you have. I go over 5, up 2, make a point. This is a vertical line. When you have a vertical line, this slope is actually called undefined. There is an undefined slope. Slope just means how steep the line is. There is a slope, it's just undefined. When there's a y equals equation, when it looks like this, when it looks horizontal, that's a 0 slope. There's 0 steepness to the line. But this, there's a steepness to it. We're just not able to put a number to it, if that makes sense. Okay, we're going to do 2 more. We're going to do 5 and 6. If you look, 5 has an x and a y in it. That means it's in standard form, which means I need to do my T-chart because I know that it doesn't equal 0 at the end. So I make my t-chart. First thing I want to do is I want to make x 0, which means the 7x is actually going to disappear because 7 times 0 is 0. So what would y be when I do that? I divide by 2 on both sides. Negative 10 divided by 2. Negative 5. That's our first point. Put your pencil at 0, 0. You don't have to go over anything, but you do have to go down 5. So that's your first point. Now we're going to work on our second point. When you make y 0, the 2 and the y disappear. So I need to divide by 7. Aiden, quit. What is negative 10 divided by 7? Negative 10 divided by 7. Negative 1.4. Put your pencil at 0, 0. We know we're going in the negative side, and we know it's kind of right in between negative 1 and negative 2. I'm just going to put a point in between them. Connect your points with a line, and you're done with this one. Last one that we're going to do together is number 6. If you look, you've got an x and a y, which means it's in standard form. At the end, you have a negative 6, which means you can do a table like this. When you make x 0, the x actually goes away. It disappears, and you're left with negative 2y equals negative 6. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. We know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So 6 divided by 2, 3. I'm going to graph that point. I go over 0, up 3. All right, so now I need to do my other point. I only have one point. I have to do both. I'm going to make y 0, which means the negative 2 and the y disappear. This time it just tells you what your x is. You don't have to solve anything. It just says x equals what? Negative 6, so be careful. We're going to graph that point. You start at 0, 0 with your pen on that, and you go left 6. You don't have to go up or down anything. All right, so I'm going to point out a couple things because the back is what you're going to do together. I mean, not together, on your own. We did the front together. You're going to do the back on your own, but I want to point out a couple things to you. Number 7, and number... I'm looking, hold on. I think that's the only one. Yeah, just number 7. That you need to change to y equals mx plus b. That's like we did number 1. So it's like the first one we did on the front. Number 9, I'm going to start out and help you make the t-chart. This is a y equals equation, and it says y equals what? 5. So what number are you allowed to put under y? What can you put for x? Anything you want. It's a little different. You just have to graph those 2 points and you're done. Number 10, there's one that does not fit on your graph. Like a point won't fit on your graph. Just put the point where you think it goes. Just put it off the graph is what I'm trying to say. And we'll go over these. So I'm going to let you work on these, and then we're going to go over them before class ends. So you should be working on 7 through 12 on your own. You have the whole front side to help you. Okay, and then at the end of class, we're going over them.